The steamer had burnt my butt cheek. There was an ice pack in between takes, so just know next time that you see Defying Gravity, my ass cheek was burning.
Fun stat, look at this row of people, very talented people. There are 46 Oscar nominations shared between all of them. 46. I should say this, 25 belong to Andy Nelson. So I'm gonna start with him. I think it's unfair to think that all you have to do is capture them singing and then make sure it just sounds nice in the movie, but re-recording and getting all the sounds perfectly intertwined is a very hard, difficult task. How does this compare to all the 25 other nominations you received in your life? And was this any harder?
By far the best. By far the best. There's a genius production mixer called Simon Hayes who recorded all the sound on set. And I worked with him first on Les Miserables. We've worked together on a few films since. He captured, the genius of him was capturing all this sound. Then you put the genius of two vocals with Cynthia and Ariana. What am I going to do? All I can do is mess it up at that point because it was so much fun to play with. John Marquis, who did all the sound effects work, we worked together. And it was just a complete labor of love, you know. It just was, listening to that orchestra in London was unbelievable. I got used to the Broadway album because I wanted to get into the DNA of the songs and understand the balance, but I threw all that out when I heard the orchestra because this was a brand new thing. And to put it up on a screen like this, we knew it had to have this phenomenal cinematic soundtrack. And I hope that's what we did.
Nathan, I believe you told me you used a time machine to go back to 1939 and create some of the sets, you know, really getting a good idea. And it would have been easy just to copy kind of Wizard of Oz and try to recreate it in this time, but this is bold, sets are beautiful, and it builds a nice world for our ladies to run around in, and Jonathan Bailey too. Could you talk about just like where you started in terms of building the sets and making them feel unique to this film?
Where do you start with this? You start with Wicked, you start with The Wizard of Oz. I think you start with sort of trying to capture the nostalgia of both of those and trying to find that in the design. I mean, we start with Jon Chu, who is, who advises us, who sits with me. We spend a lot of time together in early pre-production, and he sort of downloads his vision of the film, and he really wanted to push. He wanted to push design as far as he could into this magical place. And and getting to build the sets, I mean, I love practical building. It's when you're with all my crews, you know, and sometimes you're in mud and you're building these sets, I find it just overwhelmingly good fun, and with painters and sculptors, and you're trying to find the look. And when you build something, you have the art direction period, which is sometimes 15 weeks. So you get to change and manipulate. With physical build, you get to change it like a piece of sculpture. So you get to enjoy the process of finding the best possible image with the best possible finishes. But you can't, I don't do it alone. I have a ginormous department. And that producer there, Mark, an exceptional producer. Without him backing me, it's very, very difficult these days to do this kind of practical building. And so you have to have the support of someone like Mark, who goes to task and gives me the ability to move forward.
For anyone who doesn't know, this year, I believe it was a record number of Latinos nominated at the Oscars. Yeah. And one of them is our lovely Pablo here. Pablo, I've been dying to ask you about the train when Glinda gets on the train with Elphaba. because I know there's a ton of VFX in that scene and I can't see it, which speaks to you're really good at what you do. How you make that look so real? It's more than computer imagery. It's there's a lot that goes into it. But what was that the most difficult sequence for you to put together, or were there much harder ones?
I think the whole movie was difficult to do, but it was a pleasure to work on. And actually, there are no visual effects in the whole movie. The way you may think about it, the way we did it is, and it's all credit to everybody that is working here. It's an incredible vision of making visual effects part of the storytelling, and we're completing the stories that we're trying to tell in the movie, and it's also a credit to Jon Chu, the way he thinks of. So it's great because also the idea is that you don't really know what we did and what production design did and what everybody's doing. We're all working together in collaboration to tell one story.
I knew you could fly, by the way. I knew that was real. John Powell, did you, I mean, I saw Wicked on Broadway, and I assume that you saw it and you said, I'm gonna one-up this for the movie, and I'm gonna put some really great music in between all these fabulous songs. Where does the composer start putting music to a film that there are a lot of Wicked heads who know that music better than you think they do?
No, it was a nightmare. I didn't know the show, didn't know any of the music. Only when I got the gig, I said to Holly, who's out there somewhere, I said, should I do this thing called Wicked? And her face just went crazy. And I thought, this could be significant. So I didn't know anything about it, and I saw the films without anything other than the songs. The only thing I saw was just no music, no music. And as soon as somebody started singing, then I heard that. But other than that, I heard everything dry. And it just was a very affecting film like that. Even, for me, I was imagining other things in there, but it was very affecting. It was very hard. The relationship between the fans and the actual material. I've never worked on anything that's been so sort of touchy. Thankfully, I think we got it right, but only just. I could have really ballsed it up. I mean.
The next two people, I'm going to give you a preview. I have to apologize to both of them for different reasons, so bear with me. Myron, I'm going to apologize to you first. I have a thing when I watch movies, and I say, why are you over 2 hours? And I say that to myself typically, and I'm like why? And then I sat for Wicked, and I said, oh, I get it now. You made it so much better, and it doesn't feel like that at all. It really just, it soars, it flows. You're really good at this editing thing. It's really extraordinary to watch, but how difficult was it for you to keep that pace, knowing that this is only the first act of a very big story that's told on Broadway?
It's very difficult. I mean, it's you start with a 4-hour cut, and then you start to whittle away at it, and then you make a lot of mistakes, and you cut out the wrong scenes, and you cut out the wrong performances, and then you put them back in, and then you find these amazing moments that John captured with Cynthia and Ari, and he always says, "I'm capturing butterflies." Or he's giving me spices to make and the ingredients to make a beautiful meal, and I just keep reworking, and the pace of the film just starts to emerge. And I don't. We worry about it because the studios are worried about it, but Mark protects us, and we just try to make the film we need to make, and we believe in making a scene like the Ozdas Ballroom be the pace that it is, because if it's not earn the emotion through making people feel awkward and uncomfortable and earning this friendship, then the rest of the movie doesn't matter. So I could, I've cut the 1.5-hour version. I could show that. No, I'm not going to show it. But I've cut every version that I could think of as much as I could to unearth the different versions that are shorter and versions that are half black and white. There's versions that are upside down. There's just every version. But I try my best to let the film speak to me, and then it's going to be whatever it is. And if I hear 2 hours and 40 minutes one more time, I'm going to scream. But I really believe in that the movie is what it is, and you have to listen to it as an editor and not get in the way of it.
And you earned it, sir. Very well done. And Mark, here's your apology. I'm a wicked head. I call myself a wicked head. And Cynthia and Ari have heard me say this before. I saw Adina and Kristen Chenoweth on Broadway. I know what heaven looks like. It looks great, guys. It exists. It's amazing. We're all gonna like it. Some of us. Mark, when I heard this movie was being made, I was like, no. Like vehemently no. And then you said, I'm gonna go get Jon Chu for you, Clayton, to make sure this all gets put together nicely. And you succeeded, sir. And I'm sorry that I ever doubted you, because this is very well done. Very, very well done. Don't tell my wife I can be wrong sometimes. But as a producer, you produce a lot of great stuff. And this by far has to be one of the greatest undertakings you've ever tackled. Is that accurate?
Well, it's certainly the most personal. I mean, all my films feel personal to me and the stories I tell because I want to tell, but this is so part of me, having read this novel in the 1990s and thinking what a great movie this would be, and then starting to develop it as a film, and then having Stephen Schwartz call me and say, would you consider making it a musical? And then going, of course it wants to be a musical, and then putting it on stage. And then I waited 22 years since it opened on Broadway. It's been probably 22 years. It's enjoying its best year ever on Broadway, I might say. But I waited a long time for a number of reasons. One, mostly because I didn't want to screw it up. And I felt pressure on myself and an obligation to the fans who have tended and protected and loved these characters, who've meant so much to them in the story. And so the bar was very high for me. And part of me was insecure. And I wanted to acquire all the skill as a producer and have the vision in my head of what it could be and what I wanted it to be and all the resources I wanted to do it. So I waited for the right time. Those are all the things I knew why I was waiting. What I didn't know that I was waiting for was, first of all, for the stars and the rainbows to align, that Jon Chu would be available and raise his hand, and he and I would connect in that way. And I didn't know that I was waiting for these two women who are the only ones who could play these roles that could be there. And if I could indulge myself just for 1 minute, indulge me, because to get to work with these group of artists, all of whom undersell themselves, by the way. I mean, the sonic narrative that Andy created in that mix is extraordinary, and the world that Nathan created that transported all of us to Oz is extraordinary. And it's not just the train. Think about the character of Dr. Dillerman and Chistry, how we felt their feelings and what they were thinking. And that's this man here. And to take a Stephen Schwartz score that's beloved and to write so much music, you're not even aware of how much music is there, but all of us feel like it's all of the world of Wicked, and it moves us, is the testament to this man. And this guy, I mean, think about the moments in the film that weren't scripted that way, where someone says, is it true you were her friend? And all of a sudden you're in this impressionistic world of seeing these two women. You don't see Elphaba, like little clips, little images. That's brilliant editing and storytelling, in addition to the music and everything. So I actually waited for all of these people. That's the truth.
Amazing. And you were waiting for me to moderate when that came out. Thank you. I know you forgot. It's fine. Miss Grande. So I have to, yeah, you get it out. It's easy to say, and I'm guilty of this, it's easy to say that this is the role you were born to play. It's easy to say that you're so hilarious in the film. If you're a wicked head like I am, then when you listen to No One Mourns the Wicked, there is some lifting being done in that scene. And from the opening shot, I was like, this is different. This is not, you don't get to see this on Broadway. You don't get to see this type of acting. Aside from building your own bubble at home to really, learn how to do everything.
How did you know?
What did you do to prepare for Glinda, aside from being a little kid and watching Wicked and knowing you wanted to do it?
I've loved Wicked for 22 years. I got to see the original Broadway cast. I know what heaven looks like too. But there's a huge difference between being a fan of something and having to become it. Loving Wicked, loving the songs, and having to actually feel them, live them, and assign your own feelings to them and become them. So it's quite a journey, I really wanted to get to know Glinda beneath the comedy, because I'm a firm believer in the comedy will only play if it just is the truth and if you're just telling the truth. So finding what's beneath the surface for her, that grief and No One Mourns the Wicked is a really complicated thing. Her best friend, her only real friend, Glinda's had a lot of friends. She's very popular. But, the first time she ever has a real friend is after the Ozdas Ballroom. That's the first time in her privileged, fluffy life that someone's ever held up the mirror and invited her to access that part of her that's really, truly, deeply good, And that's the first time she's ever had that kind of friendship. So in a way, we're each other's only true friend. So she's processing that loss, and it has a lot attached to it. There's sadness, of course. There's disappointment, because I think a part of Glinda really wishes she could have stayed, even though I support her in defying gravity. When she flies away on the broom, it's like I tie the cape on her because I love her and I accept her. And that's my way of saying I love you. You've got this. But there's disappointment that she didn't say, that she didn't stay. There's also guilt, because I feel complicit in the fact that this character, this Wicked Witch of the West, has become what it is because I was a part of it. I was complicit. And, there's just so much wrapped up into it. So it's just kind of learning what those pieces are for her and learning how to keep them at bay, because she's performing for the Munchkins. And while she's the lyrics are trying to get them to consider how the human element of wickedness was thrust upon her. It did happen to her. She can't really fully let them in. So it's finding that balance, how I wish I could be honest with them, and how can I let them in just enough so that they could consider that she was good and this happened to her and she was a product of what happened. And I don't know, it's just sort of really living as these women and finding all of those feelings and then kind of smiling through it and figuring it out. And then, the high E's and whatever, you have to not think about that part so that you can just be thinking about what's happening. What was the question? I've been here, how long was it?
Preparation.
7 minutes. So, so that.
Yeah, it works. And you got an Oscar nomination for it, so well done.
Thank you
Very
so
well
much.
done.
Thank you.
Now, Cynthia with the green shoes. Ozdas Ballroom. I'm the awards editor, so I look at life in terms of Oscar clips. I'm like, what clip plays during the show that I can be like, this is why they're nominated, this is why they could win, or whatever. I watched the Ozdas Ballroom scene, and no words were needed. Just single teardrop falling from your face with this pain and agony mirrored with this yearn for acceptance. Maybe one of the best acting moments I've seen in your career yet. And it didn't even need words. And then we get to Defying Gravity, and you were like, I'll do this is easy. I'll sing a little song. The journey from Ozdas Ballroom to Defying Gravity is one that is very enjoyable, and it really does take off for you. Was it as easy as you made it look? Because it looks like you can just sing anything. You're like, kind of, you should do this too.
It is not as easy as it looks, but I want you to feel like it's easy. I want you to be able to relax and to go with her on that journey. I think I want you to feel the pain that she's feeling, because the pain that she is feeling is real to me. It comes from a very real place. And the singing, it takes time. And what Madam here didn't tell you is that she also trained for many months to become a coloratura soprano, which just in case you don't know, they sound like very strange words, but a coloratura soprano is a soprano who has a mastery over one's voice. That means you can play with it the same way you would play with it if you do R&B. So all of those trills and the turns and all those things that you can do when you're singing pop music, you can still do when you're in an opera voice singing a high E. So the training we both had to do on our voices in order to make those sounds took time for both voice and body. It isn't easy to sing in a harness up in the air when you have no ground underneath you. It isn't.
But boy, is it good.
But it's...
But oh my God, thank you. Sorry.
But it's fun as hell. I could say that. But I think that those things don't permeate if you don't go through the hard work, you know? This is going to sound very sadistic, but I really love the work that goes into it. Like, I like how hard I have to work to get there, because when it lands, there's like a real thrill, like no other. There is nothing like being able to do a freaking loop-de-loop in the air and still be able to land and sing the end of Defying Gravity. There's nothing like it. And so no, it is not easy, but I didn't want it to be, and I really loved being able to do that work to get to the end of this. And these women deserve work. The women that we play deserve our all. And so we threw ourselves into it, whether it's a 2 a.m. wake-up call, a 5 a.m. makeup call, a workout for 2 hours, and like literally I would send her voice notes of the sound of my treadmill, which she has saved. I know she has them. And she would send me voice notes and I would hear her on her treadmill. You know, we were working, or she's just coming out of Pilates, or this is the constant thing that we would do to make sure that both mind, body, and soul were ready to play these characters. And it really was a physical and vocal job for us to go through. But why else would we not? Why would we not? This is, you know, it calls for it. These are the moments that call for it. And they call for you to call on the things that you've been through. They call for you to be brave enough to access all the pain, any pain that you've been through. It calls for you to tap into any shame that you've been through, any moments of feeling ostracized or lonely, because the Ozdos Ballroom doesn't work if those tears don't feel real, if those tears don't come from a real place. And it doesn't work if the fear of being rejected doesn't come from a real place. So all of that work is real, but you shouldn't see it. You should just feel it. You should just feel, you know? Yeah.
So go train to do some notes, and that's it. I have one last question, and whoever wants to take this. Last Friday, Jon Chu won Best Director at the Critics' Choice.
The best thing ever.
It was the best thing ever. However, he's let it go to his head and he's not here today. So I would like someone to say something very nice about Jon Chu and what it's like to work with a guy who just loves movies. And that's not always a given from directors, but the dude really, really loves fucking movies. Like, he really does. And he pours his heart into everything, and watching him win was a delight. And they're leaving this part out, everyone cried at the table, like instantaneous, and not just Bowen, everyone was there. But say something else about Jon Chu. I know it's hard.
Well, I want the girls to take it, but let me just say, first of all, that was the most joyous moment, probably of the journey. For me, it was always going to be hard to give over to someone's dream of something that had been in my head for so long, and from the moment I met Jon, not just the love of movies, which is very real, the love of Wicked and what it was for him, which was so meaningful to me, but his imagination and his vision and his point of view are extraordinary, and his ambition genuinely reaches over the rainbow. And all of that talent is only exceeded by the size of his heart, which when you do Wicked, which is all about humanity and human connection, when people are so different or outside, or when someone's misrepresenting the truth to you, is what it's all about. And so I love that man for all those reasons, and his talent is extraordinary, and there is none of us here without what he gave to all of us and this film.
Just to add on, I mean, the size of his heart, the way he is, but the way he leads a set, I feel like he's the only person in the entire world that could have made something of this scale feel like we were all little students making a student film together. Like it felt like we were just making something quiet and tiny and intimate and safe and warm, and he treats every single person he encounters with such respect and patience and care, and the same thoughtfulness that you feel woven throughout every single frame of this film. That's how he thinks about people. That's how he treats his crew. He creates the warmest set and most incredible environment. It's like we shot 160 days and we rehearsed for 3 months before it, right?
Yes.
There were
shut down for a strike in the middle.
Yes.
Right.
There was never, I can't think of a time I saw him anything but grateful, motivated, excited, happy, grateful, kind, patient. And it's just, he reminds me of my grandfather in that way, actually, which, I mean, he was the best person in the world, but just that respect and kindness. Love him so much, sorry. Yeah. And also, just the hardest worker and the best at what he does, but yeah.
I just have to be really, really real with you all. There is not a man in the world who can balance what it is to be a kind human being with being a kind director. Two very different things. Because your director needs to get this piece done. We need to get work done, right? But when you can be on a set, still feel like you are deeply seen and appreciated and loved whilst you're doing this work, when you can come off set and still feel seen, appreciated, and loved, that is an impossible bridge to cross. I remember when we were on the set, I was so ill, I think it was like a week or something, and I got to my house and there was a Tupperware box of soup that he had made. And it wasn't just any soup. I remember it was Tom Yum soup without onion or garlic. And I say that
onion and
because
garlic.
I hate onion and garlic.
Hates.
Understand?
Can I tell them
So
the
it
Defying
wasn't,
Gravity?
huh?
We have to tell them the Defying Gravity story.
We will tell. And I say this, and I know it sounds hilarious, but I say this because that man thought enough of me to make something that he knew I could actually eat when I was ill. And then I got to set, and the place was provided for me to be able to get in a harness and sing Defying Gravity. And at no point did I ever feel like I was on that set alone. that I was flying alone. It felt like he was flying right beside me every single time. He will hype you up like he's like your best friend. Like he is the only person in the room. And if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter because we're all just playing. We're just having fun. But still, them shots will be done by the end of the day. And you will not regret anything you have done. And you will go home feeling you have achieved the biggest things and be ready to come back the next day. It's really hard to do a movie like this. And I don't know if anyone realizes that thing is massive. Do you know how like, this could have been bad. Let's be real. This could have been bad. And we're all sitting watching this because we love it. And do you know why? Because Jon Chu put his stamp on it because he loves it just as much as we do. The reason we're sitting here, the reason we're all here, the reason why we are here is because that man was at the top of the hill making sure that everyone was safe enough to come up the hill with him. That's why.
I want to add one more thing to that. It would be important to Jon, which is because it's a very challenging time that we're living in, and the world is very, very challenging. And this was a very arduous shoot and journey of many years. And what I want to say about Jon is that every day he brought joy to the journey. And it's important to him, which is why I wanted to say it, that the film, which deals with, it's very entertaining and makes us laugh, but makes us cry and also makes us think about things. Like if you make it discouraging enough, you can keep anyone silent. Lines that, really have relevance today. It was important to Jon that the joy that he found every day, he would come on the set and go, today we get to do Popular. Can you believe that we're doing Popular today? It's going to be so great. That joy he wanted to infuse in every frame so that when you've experienced the film with all the tears and everything else, you feel the joy in every single frame. So I wanted to say that on his behalf.
All while being the dad of 4 kids.
And he has
All while
4
being the
children.
Dad of 4 kids under 10. Are you joking?
He had 3?
I'm so sorry.
He had 4.
Wait, the onion story about defying gravity.
Go on.
Can I please?
You can tell.
Sorry, Clayton, do we have to
It's
go?
not my fault.
Please.
No, you go.
I'm sorry.
I was
We're having a good time.
Anyway, it's a long story short. We're filming Defying Gravity, and it's the part where we're about to sing. Just you and I defying gravity. With you and I defying gravity. And
Never bring us down.
And 2 things happened right before that shot. Right before that shot, we had broken for lunch, and for some reason, the lunch that day had so many onions in it. And Cynthia was like having a heart attack. And also, the steamer had burnt my butt cheek when my skirt was being fixed.
Literal imprint.
So just know next time that you see the broom shot and we're singing that moment together.
I'm suffering through smelling so many onions.
We come back from lunch and she goes, "What is this, an onion farm?" And my ass cheek was burning. So next time you see that shot,
My
picture.
ass is on fire.
Yeah.
My ass is on fire. My ass is on fire.
There was an ice pack in between takes and onions that she was suffering from. And that's our story.
Wow. So if you look under your seat, there's soup under your seat. That's a gift. We're going to play Wicked for Good right now. No, I'm lying.
He's kidding.
That's so mean.
Even
so
I wish. Are we doing that right now?
Myron was like, I didn't cut that. I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, all you talented 46 nominations, all between you all people. You did a good job. Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Thanks, man.
You know, we look forward to the sequel, the completion of the story. And we look forward to some good news over the next few weeks at several award shows. So, one last time, the cast and crew of Wicked.
Thank you.